I want you to imagine, for just a second, that you have finally achieved the ultimate suburban dream.
Okay, setting the scene.
Yeah, like you've saved up for years, you've agonized over all that grueling paperwork, the inspections, the bidding wars.
Ugh, the bidding wars are the worst.
Right, and you have
Yeah.
just dropped over $1 million on a beautiful, absolutely perfect home.
Wow.
It's sitting there in this incredibly expensive, quiet neighborhood. I mean, the kind of place with those massive century-old trees lining the streets, you know.
Pristine, manicured lawns, all of that.
Exactly. So you have the physical keys in your hand, but before you can even cross the threshold with your very first cardboard box.
Before you even hang a single picture frame.
Yes. Before any of that, you realize something terrifying.
Wow.
Someone else out there, someone you can't see, actually believes that your new home belongs to them.
Wow. I mean, it is a complete inversion of what a home is supposed to represent.
Oh.
Because you buy a house to build a fortress, a sanctuary where you are at the absolute peak of your personal security.
Right, it's your safe space.
Exactly. And discovering that someone else claims ownership over that private space,
Yeah.
it instantly strips away all of that security. You're left completely exposed, and you haven't even moved in yet.
It's like finally buying your absolute dream car, right? The one you've saved for your entire life.
Yeah.
You get the keys, you're driving it off the lot, and as you merge onto the highway, you glance in the rearview mirror and realize there's just like a stranger sitting silently in the back seat.
Oh, that is a terrifying image. That is deeply unsettling.
It really is. So today's deep dive is venturing into the chilling timeline and the incredibly disturbing details surrounding the infamous Watcher House.
The house at 657 Boulevard.
That's the one. Our mission today is to unpack the events that started in 2014, analyze these terrifyingly specific letters sent to the family, and really break down the psychological mechanics of anonymous obsession.
And, you know, to grasp the sheer velocity of how fast this suburban dream warped into a nightmare, I think we need to look at the very first communication this family received.
Yeah, that first letter is crucial.
It really is. Because this initial letter is the exact moment the illusion of safety was permanently shattered. It sets the whole psychological tone
Yeah.
for everything that follows.
So let's set the scene based on the source material. It's 2014. The family buys this gorgeous 1900s home in Westfield, New Jersey.
Right.
And it's peaceful. It's widely considered this perfect, idyllic place to raise children.
The quintessential nice neighborhood.
Exactly. And they haven't even officially moved their furniture in yet. They're just starting some basic renovations to update the place.
Right, just contractors coming in and out.
Yeah. But within days of purchasing the property, a letter arrives in the mail. And it doesn't even have their names on it. It's addressed simply to the new owner.
I mean, the timing alone there is a massive red flag.
Oh, for sure.
Because receiving a letter just days after the ink dries on the contract, that tells you the sender is either obsessively monitoring municipal real estate records,
Which takes a lot of effort.
it does, or, even worse, they are physically watching the property day in and day out, just waiting for a sale sign to come down.
Yeah, waiting for the contractors to arrive. The wild thing is the letter actually starts off sounding somewhat normal.
Right, almost like a quirky neighborhood greeting.
Yeah, the writer welcomes the family to the neighborhood, welcomes them to the house, but then the tone deteriorates so rapidly.
It really takes a dark turn.
The anonymous sender signs off with this chilling theatrical title, The Watcher. And they lay claim to this bizarre generational lineage of obsession with the property.
What's fascinating here is how the writer immediately reframes the entire power dynamic.
How do you mean?
Well, they are not merely stating, I am a person who is watching you. They wrote, my grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched in the 1960s. It is now my time.
Okay, let's unpack this, because when you hear those specific words, you just have to question the actual logistics of it.
Right, the timeline is wild.
But is this an actual multi-generational stalking tradition? Are we supposed to believe, like, a grandfather pulled his son aside in the 1960s and said, son, one day, this random piece of suburban real estate will be yours to creepily stare at?
It sounds like a cursed heirloom or something.
It totally does. Or, conversely, is this a modern individual who is just incredibly manipulative, fabricating a terrifying mythology from scratch just to sound more intimidating?
It's a very dramatic angle.
It feels like a twisted version of a royal lineage, but dedicated entirely to, an ordinary house.
Well, whether the 90-year lineage is a historical fact or a complete fabrication almost doesn't matter.
Really? Why not?
Because the psychological weaponization is identical either way.
Right.
The letter claimed the house had desires and needs, and that it actually called to the new family.
Oh, man. Assigning the house living characteristics.
Exactly. By doing that, the stalker is attempting to make the legal buyers feel like they are nothing more than temporary unwanted trespassers.
So they're stripping away the family's legal and financial ownership.
Right, replacing it with this dark mythological authority. It forces the family to feel like they aren't fighting a human being. They feel like they're fighting a ghost or a curse.
But they weren't fighting a ghost. And while this mythology of the Watcher is deeply creepy, the letters, they didn't stop there.
No, they definitely escalated.
Yeah, as more envelopes arrived, it was the hyper-specific, intimate details buried in the text that really propelled this situation from, like, abstract, spooky threats into immediate physical danger.
This clearly wasn't a teenager messing around with a prank.
Not at all. The escalation was incredibly rapid, both in how often the letters came and the deeply disturbing nature of the content.
And the stalker's focus shifted, right, from the architecture of the house to the actual human beings occupying it.
Yes, the focus shifted directly to the children.
That's where it gets so dark.
The Watcher knew the family had kids. Now, the parents hadn't publicly shared details about their children, but the stalker knew they existed, and they deliberately referred to them in the letters as young blood.
That phrase, young blood, is purposefully archaic and predatory.
It makes my skin crawl.
It is designed to evoke pure horror. It triggers the most primal parental instinct, to protect one's offspring from a predator.
And the letters ask these horrifying, taunting questions. Things like, have they found what is in the walls yet?
Just terrifying.
And will the young blood play in the basement?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And beyond the kids, the stalker knew everything about the unpublicized renovations going on inside. They knew the exact schedules of the contractors.
They knew the makes and models of the cars arriving and leaving the driveway, too.
But the absolute breaking point, like the specific detail that terrified the parents more than anything else, was a letter that casually mentioned seeing one of the children painting on an easel inside the house.
Oh, man. That single observation fundamentally alters the reality of the threat.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if you think about the physical logistics of sightlines, it is terrifying.
What do you mean by sightlines?
Well, to see a child painting on an easel or at a table inside a house through a window, you cannot be looking through binoculars from 3 blocks away.
Right. There are trees and fences in the way.
Yeah, exactly. Other houses block the view. You have to be close. You have to be standing in the yard or like right on the property line.
Is so deeply unsettling.
Imagine the family is living inside a brightly lit terrarium. When it's dark outside and you have the lights on inside your house, you can't see out the window.
Yeah, the glass just reflects your own living room back at you like a mirror.
Right. But anyone standing in the pitch black outside can see every single move you make in perfect, illuminated detail.
They have a front row seat to your life.
It's like an unseen observer is completely controlling your environment from the shadows, and you are entirely blind to them.
That terrarium effect is exactly why physical surveillance of a home is so uniquely violating. It relies entirely on lighting imbalances that the homeowner can't control without, well, living in the dark.
Which nobody wants to do.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the psychological impact, the stalker has successfully turned the family sanctuary into an observation cage.
An observation cage, that's a great way to put it.
Mentioning the young blood and describing the child painting removes any comforting illusion of digital distance.
Yeah, you can't tell yourself it's just some internet troll living in another state.
Right. It confirms, as a matter of hard physical fact, that the stalker is physically present, breathing the same air, standing just yards away in the dark.
I keep getting stuck on the fact that they have a confirmed physical presence practically in the family's backyard.
It is baffling.
If someone is consistently walking up to the house, standing outside windows at night, monitoring contractor schedules during the day, you would think it is only a matter of time before they slip up and get caught.
You'd assume they'd make a mistake.
Right. They have to leave a footprint or get caught on a camera or just be seen by a neighbor walking their dog.
But they weren't.
No. And this leads us into the most frustrating, suffocating chapter of this entire story. The complete and utter failure to find a suspect.
Which is wild, because the family actually followed the textbook protocol for this kind of harassment.
Yeah.
They immediately involved local law enforcement.
And interestingly, the police advised the family to keep the investigation completely secret from their neighbors while the case was active.
Which, I mean, I understand on a tactical level.
Sure, you don't want to tip off the stalker if the stalker happens to live right next door.
Exactly.
But think about what that does to your daily life. It means the neighbors instantly become your primary suspects.
You're living in a state of constant suspicion.
Yeah, you have to smile, wave, and make small talk with the exact people who might be threatening your children's lives. Imagine you are the parents, constantly scanning the faces of the people waving to you across the street, just wondering if they are the ones writing these letters.
Oh, the mental toll that would take is just unimaginable. And the police did focus heavily on the immediate vicinity.
Because of those sightlines we talked about.
Right. They understood that the line of sight required to see inside the house severely limited the suspect pool. So they investigated multiple residents nearby.
Did they have any strong leads?
Well, there was an elderly man who was known to sit in lawn chairs and watch the street for incredibly long periods of time.
Okay, that's a bit suspicious.
Yeah, and they looked into another neighbor who had a reputation in the community for odd behavior. The authorities interviewed several individuals who lived close enough to have the perfect vantage point.
But every single one of those interviews, every single avenue they went down, just resulted in a dead end.
Complete dead ends.
And I don't mean they lacked enough evidence for a conviction. I mean a complete forensic dead end.
Nothing to work with at all.
Zero. There were zero fingerprints left on any of the letters or envelopes.
That's incredibly rare.
And there was no usable DNA found under the stamps or on the envelope flaps either. The source notes the sender likely used a sponge or tape.
So they were being very careful.
Extremely careful. There was no surveillance footage of anyone dropping anything off in the mailbox or lurking in the bushes.
Even with all the police attention.
Even after the police set up literal stakeouts, sitting in cars watching the house, even after they tracked the local mail routes and sorted through processing centers,
Wow.
and even after the family installed their own private high-definition security cameras all over the property, absolutely nothing was found.
And the letters just kept coming.
They just kept arriving. One letter even taunted the family, asking why they hadn't moved in yet.
A total lack of physical or trace evidence in a modern investigative setting is just staggering.
It really is.
It requires a remarkable level of discipline to avoid leaving a single microscopic trace on paper, envelope, or stamp time after time.
So, what does this all mean? How does a person in 2014 dealing with professional police stakeouts, private security cameras, and a hyper-focused active investigation manage to leave zero digital or physical footprint?
It's the ultimate question.
Are we dealing with someone who has an extreme, almost lottery-level amount of luck? Or is this a highly sophisticated, extremely competent individual who knows exactly how to evade modern detection?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what we're really witnessing is the chilling effectiveness of analog stalking in a heavily digital age.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Say more about that.
Well, today, law enforcement and society at large are deeply conditioned to solve crimes using digital footprints.
Right, like finding a digital trail.
Exactly. Detectives look for cell phone tower pings, internet search histories, IP addresses, GPS tracking, automated license plate readers. We leave a trail of data everywhere we go.
It's almost impossible not to.
But the watcher used basic, old-fashioned physical mail, likely dropped in public mailboxes far away from the house, and they relied on direct, unaugmented physical observation.
No cell phone, no digital cameras.
Right. By going completely analog, they bypassed modern cybersecurity and digital forensics entirely. They went so low-tech that the high-tech tools were rendered completely useless.
It's terrifying because it means the system we rely on to keep us safe only works if the criminal plays by the modern rules.
Which this person refused to do.
And the resulting lack of evidence just bred this intense, suffocating paranoia for the family.
Of course it did.
When a suspect leaves absolutely no trace, the suspect could literally be anyone. The entire neighborhood transforms from this friendly, wealthy community into a hostile, terrifying environment.
You'd be second-guessing everything.
You're side-eyeing the person walking their golden retriever. You're wondering why the house across the street left their porch light on, or why a delivery van is parked slightly too long at the corner. It's maddening.
And that localized paranoia was unsustainable. Because the police were hitting these massive brick walls and forensic dead ends, the silence couldn't hold.
The secret got out.
It did. The mystery was eventually thrust out of the neighborhood and onto the national stage, which drastically changed the dynamic of the case.
It exploded. The story of 657 Boulevard became a worldwide media spectacle practically overnight.
It was everywhere.
Suddenly, you have internet sleuths, Reddit forums, and amateur detectives analyzing every single word of the letters, just searching for linguistic clues or hidden meanings.
People get so obsessed with these mysteries.
And the theories online spiraled completely out of control. People fiercely debated if it was a jealous neighbor who had been outbid on the house or maybe a bitter former owner.
Which are logical guesses initially.
Sure, some insisted it was a mentally disturbed stalker with no actual connection to the house at all, just someone who fixated on it.
Right.
Others leaned heavily into the stalker's own mythology, convinced it was a secret society or someone tied to the deep architectural history of the property itself.
But as the mystery deepened without any actual resolution, the public discourse took a very dark, very predictable turn against the victims themselves.
Yeah, this part always gets me. The theories went so far as to suggest that the entire terrifying ordeal was a total fabrication,
A hoax.
a massive hoax perpetrated by the family themselves, supposedly to get out of the mortgage or commit insurance fraud.
Which is such a wild leap to make.
It's utterly insane when you step back and realize that local law enforcement, the prosecutor's office, and private investigators all repeatedly and officially confirmed that the investigation was real.
They backed the family up completely.
Yes, the letters were real, and the threat to the family's lives was entirely real.
But the internet ran with the fraud theory regardless of the official confirmations. It became the dominant narrative in many online circles.
It's like watching a true crime forum come to life, where the actual living victims of a relentless stalking campaign are suddenly put on trial by a jury of armchair detectives in the court of public opinion.
It's a terrible phenomenon.
I just struggle to understand this. Why is it that the public's first instinct is so often to blame the victim, or to assume an entire ordeal is an elaborate financial hoax when they are faced with something this bizarre and scary?
This raises an important question about human psychology. Specifically, it ties into the just world hypothesis and our deep, fundamental need for control.
Okay, the just world hypothesis. How does that work here?
Well, as a society, we desperately crave neat resolutions. We need to believe the world makes logical sense and that bad things don't just happen to people for no reason.
Right, we want to think we are safe if we follow the rules.
Exactly. When we are confronted with the terrifying reality that an invisible, uncatchable stalker could randomly target a normal suburban family, it shatters our own illusion of safety.
Because if it can happen to them, it can happen to us.
Exactly. People would much rather invent a logical, rational conspiracy like a calculated financial scam for insurance money than accept the fact that random, uncontrollable, chaotic danger exists in the world.
So believing it is a hoax is actually a psychological defense mechanism.
Yes, 100%. It allows the public to tell themselves, this wouldn't happen to my family because it didn't actually happen to theirs.
Wow. It is so much easier to believe the victims are greedy liars than to accept the reality that a faceless monster might be watching your own living room window tonight.
You sleep a lot better thinking it's just a scam.
You really do.
The truth of random victimization is just infinitely scarier than a structured financial crime.
But despite all those wild public theories, the victim blaming and the police confirming the reality of the threat, the stark reality remained completely unchanged for the family.
Nothing got better for them.
No. The letters didn't stop, the suspect wasn't caught, and it leads to a heartbreaking, financially devastating conclusion for their dream home.
And the conclusion is genuinely devastating. Despite spending over $1 million to purchase the property and investing further into renovations and security, the family became so completely terrified for their children's safety that they never moved their belongings into the house.
Never.
They never spent a single night sleeping under that roof.
They spent a literal fortune to own a house they were too terrified to step foot in.
It's heartbreaking.
They eventually had to sell it at a massive financial loss just to escape the nightmare. And the ultimate tragedy of the story is that the identity of the watcher was never officially discovered.
Still unknown.
To this day, nobody knows who stood in the dark and wrote those letters.
The case remains entirely unsolved, just a permanent question mark in the town's history.
As you listen to this, I think it's crucial to remember what the core terror of this story really is. You know, there are no ghosts at 657 Boulevard.
Right.
There are no supernatural monsters hiding in the basement or whispering in the walls. The true horror of this story is just an ordinary person.
Just a person.
Someone who walked the same suburban streets, maybe shopped at the same local grocery store, who became deeply, intensely obsessed enough to silently watch a family from the shadows for years.
Sending those awful letters.
Studying little kids painting through windows, reminding them that their multi-million-dollar sanctuary didn't actually belong to them.
It forces you to completely reevaluate what constitutes a safe space and how fragile that safety really is.
It really does.
But there is one final detail regarding the aftermath that is particularly unsettling.
Oh, what's that?
Even today, years after the family fled and sold the property, the home has become infamous worldwide as the Watcher House. And according to the sources, people still drive past it out of curiosity.
Oh, man. True crime tourism.
Exactly.
People treating a family's real trauma like a roadside attraction.
It leaves me with this thought, and this is something for all of us to consider. By turning this family's nightmare into a dark tourist attraction, by driving past it slowly to take a picture or just to get a look at the house from the street, is the public inadvertently continuing the Watcher's legacy.
Wow.
Even though the original stalker was never caught, haven't we all essentially become the Watchers now? By flocking to the property, the public is practically guaranteeing that whoever lives in 657 Boulevard will never truly feel unwatched again.
That is a haunting thought, because it implies the stalker ultimately won.
They got exactly what they wanted.
They created this dark mythology out of thin air, and now hundreds of strangers are pulling up in their cars to fulfill it for them. It brings us right back to where we started.
The dream house.
You buy your dream house, you sign the papers, and you finally think you've made it. But every time you look out the window, there's a stranger looking back.